Okay, so let's get into it. We're talking about a philosopher named Thomas Hobbes, and he asked a really big question.
A huge one, basically. Why do people fight so much, and what's the only way to make them live together in peace?
And his answer is, pretty intense.
It is. But to get why his solution was so extreme, you really have to understand the world he was living in.
Right, so he was born way back in 1588 and lived to be 91, which was ancient for that time.
And that meant he saw a lot. Specifically, he lived right through the English Civil War.
Which wasn't just some distant war. It was, total chaos at home. The government completely fell apart.
It was king against parliament, but it was also neighbor against neighbor. Society was just crumbling.
And seeing that kind of violence up close, that's got to change how you see things.
Oh, absolutely. It formed his entire philosophy. He traveled, he met other big thinkers, but the chaos in England was what drove him. He basically concluded that to have a safe, stable society, you need one power that is so strong, nobody would even think about challenging it.
Okay, so if that's the solution, this giant, scary power, we need to really understand the problem he was trying to fix.
We do. And he gave it a name, the state of nature.
The state of nature. So what is that exactly?
It's a thought experiment. He says, imagine a time before any governments existed. No police, no laws, no courts, nobody to enforce any rules.
Just people.
Just people. And for Hobbes, that is a really bad situation. He had a pretty dark view of what people are like at their core.
He didn't think we're naturally good or cooperative.
Not at all. He believed humans are basically selfish. We're driven by a constant need for more power, more stuff, because that's what helps us survive.
And if everyone is just looking out for number one,
Then you get conflict.
yeah.
It's inevitable because there's only so much to go around.
So what does life actually look like in this state of nature? Is it just constant fighting?
It's more like constant fear. Think about it. Why would you bother planting a farm or building a nice house?
Because someone stronger could just come and take it.
Exactly. There's no guarantee that anything you work for will be yours tomorrow. So nobody builds anything. Nobody invents anything. Society just stops.
And this is where that famous quote of his comes from, right? The one that sums it all up.
Yes. Life in this state of nature is solitary, poor, nasty, brutish, and short.
Wow. Solitary, poor, nasty, brutish, and short. That's about as bad as it gets.
It's not just that you might get hurt. It's that there's no art, no learning, no friendship, just survival.
So he calls this the war of all against all, but you said it's not always a literal fight.
Right. The war is the constant threat of a fight. It's knowing that violence could break out at any second.
Ah, so it's the feeling, it's the psychology of it.
Yes, exactly. You never feel safe enough to relax. And the reason for that fear is because Hobbes believed that, in a weird way, everyone is equal.
How can everyone be equal? Some people are obviously stronger or smarter.
Equal in their ability to kill each other. That's the catch.
Okay, explain that.
Well, the strongest person still has to sleep, right? So the weakest person could sneak in and kill them. Or they could use a weapon, or poison, or just trick them.
So no one is ever truly safe, because anyone can be a threat.
Exactly. And that equality and being able to harm each other is what creates this deep, constant dread.
So because of that dread, the most important thing for any human becomes just staying safe.
It's the #1 goal. Escaping a violent death becomes the only thing that matters. And that desire for safety is the way out.
This is what leads to his idea of the social contract.
The only way to escape the horror.
So what is this deal, this social contract? What do people have to do?
They have to make an agreement. To get peace, everyone has to agree to give up something really big.
Their total freedom.
Their total freedom. You give up your right to do whatever you want, whenever you want.
Yeah.
You give up your right to just take things or to use violence to solve your problems.
In exchange for what? What do you get back?
You get protection. You get order. You get a society where you know the rules and you can feel safe. It's the trade-off.
So this is where it gets a little tricky. Who is actually making this deal? Is it like the people make a contract with a new king?
See, that's what you might think, but Hobbes says no. And this is a really important point. The contract is not between the people and their ruler.
Okay.
The promise is made among the people themselves.
To each other.
Yes. Imagine everyone in a group looks at everyone else and says, okay, I promise I will put down my weapon and obey this one person, the leader, but only if you all promise to do the exact same thing.
Ah, so the leader isn't part of the deal. They just receive the power once everyone else agrees.
Precisely. The people all agree with each other to hand over their power to a single authority who will then keep the peace for all of them. For Hobbes, it's the only logical choice. the only way to survive.
So once this contract is made, you need a government that's strong enough to enforce it.
And not just strong, it has to be terrifyingly powerful, which is why he gave it that famous name,
The Leviathan.
the Leviathan. It's named after a giant, powerful sea monster from myths. He chose that name on purpose. The government has to be so big and scary that no one would dare mess with it.
He also called it an artificial person. What's that about?
Well, it's artificial because humans made it. It's not natural. And it's a person because it acts with one single will, the combined will of all the people who gave up their power to create it.
And the leader of this Leviathan, it could be a king or maybe a group of people, is called the sovereign.
Right. And for Hobbes, the sovereign must have absolute, total power.
Why absolute? Why can't the power be shared? You know, like with checks and balances.
Because he had seen what happens when power is divided. That was the English Civil War. The king and parliament were fighting over who was in charge.
And that just led back to chaos.
Exactly. If you split power, the different parts might start fighting each other. For Hobbes, the power has to be indivisible. One sovereign makes the laws. One sovereign decides what's right and wrong. No arguments.
But wait, that sounds really dangerous. What if the sovereign is a terrible ruler, a tyrant?
And that's the big criticism of Hobbes. But for him, it was simple math. A bad ruler might be painful, but the state of nature, no ruler at all, is guaranteed death and misery.
So even a cruel government is better than no government.
That was his firm belief. And once you make the deal, you can't back out. People don't have a right to protest or try to change the government.
Why not?
Because trying to overthrow the sovereign breaks the contract. It sends everyone right back to that war of all against all. It's like pressing a self-destruct button for society.
Okay, so you have to be a good citizen. What does that actually mean in this system? What are your duties?
Pretty simple, really. You obey the laws, you pay your taxes, and you support the state. You do nothing to cause instability.
And what about your rights? You've given up most of your freedom, but is there anything left?
Just one, really important one. The right to defend your own life if the state tries to kill you.
So, self-preservation.
Exactly. Since the whole point of the contract was to save your life, you can't be forced to, say, kill yourself or testify against yourself in a way that leads to your execution.
So freedom is basically just whatever the law doesn't say you can't do.
That's his definition. If there's no law against painting your house purple, you're free to do it.
Yeah.
But the second the sovereign makes a law against it, that freedom is gone.
Which leads right into his ideas about justice and law. In the state of nature, nothing was unfair because there were no rules.
Right. So justice is super simple for Hobbes. Justice just means following the laws that the sovereign created, keeping your promise.
And injustices.
Breaking the law, violating the contract. It's not about some grand moral code. It's just, did you follow the rules or not?
And to make sure people follow them, there have to be punishments.
Of course. And the punishment for breaking a law has to be worse than whatever you might gain by breaking it. That's what keeps people in line. It's all very logical.
No, there's another really controversial part of this. Religion.
A huge one. Hobbes saw religious disagreements as a major cause of war. People fighting over whose God is right.
So what was his fix for that?
He said the sovereign, the king or ruler, must also be the head of the national church.
Why? What does that do?
It solves the problem of having two bosses. He called it dual loyalty.
You mean like your king tells you to do one thing, but your religious leader tells you to do something else?
Exactly. Who do you obey? That conflict can split a country apart. Hobbes saw it happen. So, by making the ruler the head of the church, they get to decide how religion is practiced publicly.
So your duty to God and your duty to the state become the same thing.
That's the goal. It removes any reason for religious rebellion. Again, for him, it wasn't about what's true in religion. It was about what keeps the peace.
So after all this, giving up freedom, absolute power, state-controlled religion, what's the big payoff? Why is the Leviathan actually good for people?
Because it creates the common good. And that means two things: safety and the chance for a comfortable life.
Right.
Yes. When you're not afraid of being attacked all the time, society can actually flourish. People can trade, invent things, create art, study science.
All things that are impossible in the state of nature.
Right. A strong government protects you from crime inside the country and from invasion from outside. That security is the foundation for everything else that makes life good.
It's a powerful argument, but obviously not everyone agreed with him.
Let's talk about the criticisms.
There are two main ones. First, a lot of later philosophers said his view of human nature was just too negative.
They thought people weren't really that selfish.
Yeah, they argued that people can be naturally cooperative and kind. That we don't need a scary monster government to force us to behave.
And the second big criticism,
It's aimed at the power of the Leviathan itself. Giving one person or group that much unchecked power is incredibly risky.
because they could become a cruel tyrant.
Exactly. And there would be nothing you could do about it. Later thinkers, like John Locke, argued for protecting people's rights and for splitting up government power to prevent that from happening. But even with all those criticisms, Hobbes's ideas were huge.
Oh, massively important. He was one of the first to argue that a government's power comes from the people, from an agreement, the social contract, not from God. That was a revolutionary idea.
And he basically set the terms for a debate we're still having today, right? That balance between freedom and safety.
Absolutely. He made a very logical case for putting safety and order above everything else, and that's why we still have to wrestle with his ideas.
So here's something to think about. Hobbes argued that even a bad ruler is better than no ruler at all.
So the question for you is, what would have to happen? How much chaos would there have to be for you to agree with him?
Good luck with your studies.